Me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's be free Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, die with my own doubts.
Hi, friends! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here with you today. I've seen everybody's comments coming in while I was dancing around to that song. I love the countdown song, gets me every time. So thank you guys for all being here. I definitely put all your questions in the comments. I want to be able to answer as much as I can for you. For anybody who didn't get a chance to watch my video yet, it is live today. If you have the regular ticket, you have 24 hours from this morning to watch it, so you still can watch it tonight. But this is the card that I made. It's a regular A2 size card, but it has a little sneaky surprise. It has it's an interactive pull tab, and the panel that I need to go inside is actually a shaker filled with lots of little sequins. So super fun, and I didn't use any specialty dyes to do it. I just got a little crafty with layering up some cardstock, and I just love how it turned out. It just, every time I see that little girl and her dragon pop up, it just makes me smile. I'm a sucker for this stamp set. So I had put a poll in the Summit Facebook group to see how many people had already made shakers, just regular shakers on their own. And I was really surprised to see how many people have made shakers before. So that was really exciting. I hope this gives you an idea of I love shakers. I'm a sucker for a full panel shaker card where the shaker goes all the way to the edges, which is kind of what I made with my little mini panel here where it wraps all the way around. I love them. So if you also are a sucker for a good sequin mix or a shaker panel, I hope that this gives you some extra ideas of different fun ways that you can use a technique that you already love. And if you haven't tried it before, my goal was to make it seem a little less daunting, both to make an interactive card in general. I feel like we see all of these companies making dies and they're great. And trust me, I have an entire bin of interactive dies. I'm a sucker for those too, but it's really nice to be able to sit down and just create without having to worry about if you need to place an order, right? Just to make a card that you want. So. Oh, my favorite shaker elements. So I have two companies that I especially love for my shaker elements. One is Possum Stamps. Julianne has some of the most amazing sequin mixes. But the ones that I used for my card today come from This Calls for Confetti. And I've already set this aside because I was anticipating someone would ask. I had to get their sequin cachet, their confetti cachet, which is really cool. It's a little bin. It has a nice clear lid that snaps in to lock everything in place. And then all of these different size containers. So I love for shakers a good sequin, confetti sequin where they don't have the holes. But honestly, anything in there is beautiful. And they also sell mixes and clay bits, which if anybody has seen my my channel or my videos before, you know that I'm a sucker for Halloween. So they have like little clay candy corns and things like that that I've stockpiled up on, because God forbid I ran out of the candy corns. But yeah, this just helps me keep everything organized. I can just go to one spot when I need something. And I've also kind of created my own little bin like that with my Possum Stamps ones. But those are more if I want a sequin mix where it's multiple shades and textures all in one spot, versus my This Calls for Confetti is more if I want one color of sequins for my whole panel, if that makes sense. That's how I pick which one I'm going to use. So fun. The sentiment set that had the pool word. So that is from My Favorite Things as well. It is on that resource. I think it's called the interactive. It's here somewhere. I know it is. I might not be able to find it in time for you. It's definitely on my worksheet. I promise you that. It's from My Favorite Things. It's their interactive little guy, and it has like pull, push, spin, arrows, all the things that you need if you're going to make interactive cards. Yeah, of course I can't find it right now, but I promise it's on there. It's still, I checked at the beginning of the month and they still had it available. So that one is definitely a good one for your stash if you like making interactive cards. It's so fun and exciting to see you guys all in the comments. How did I cut the rectangle out in the front? So for part of my, when I cut the inside panel where the foam is, I marked it out with a ruler, and then I literally took teeny sharp scissors like these guys. These are the Simon Says Stamp, like little snips, and I poked a hole into the paper in the center of my rectangle. And then from there, I was able to cut up to my line, my pencil line, and then just cut around. You could also do it with an X-Acto knife. I'm really bad at using X-Acto knives. It's too dangerous for me. So if you get an X-Acto knife, make sure you have a cutting pad for underneath. But I found that my rectangle was big enough that the scissors worked just fine. So that was nice and easy. Oh, my favorite inks for ink blending. So I am a sucker. I have two full collections over here that I can see. I love a distress ink. I'm slowly building up my distress oxides, but I also use a lot of the My Favorite Things, their premium dye inks. Pink and Main also just started coming their own line of very interesting colors. They're very unique, and I feel like they're filling some gaps in my collection. But I did have full set syndrome with the distress inks. So that's probably my favorite, my go-to ink blending, my ink blending ink that I love. My favorite coloring medium, They're right here. This is half of them. The other half is over here. These are, I'm a sucker for a Copic marker. I use them almost every day, at least probably 5 days a week. I'm Copic coloring something, whether it's like on my card, just that little portion or a full scene. I love coloring. Coloring is what got me into card making to begin with. So Copics are my absolute favorite. When I'm stumped for something to do, I just color, and then the rest will eventually come to me. So the difference between distress inks and distress oxides is a distress ink, I believe, is just a pure ink. It's water reactive, whereas distress oxide has an extra ingredient in it. Tim Holtz has better descriptive videos, educational videos than I can give you, but it leaves an almost chalky texture to the ink when it's dried. So when you add water to a distress ink, it kind of just shifts it around almost like watercolor, where if you add water to a distress oxide, it actually oxidizes and reacts with the water and the air, and it changes the color and the pigmentation to the ink. But if you want a really better answer, Tim Holtz is your man for that, because I'm still learning how to use them. My Copic markers, I get all of my Copic markers from scrapbookpal.com. I am now on their design team, but I can assure you I was ordering for them for 2 years before that was even a thought in my mind. I have never received one dry. I've never received one where the lid is off. Those are all things that I've had happen from buying from other companies, other large retailers. But that has never happened to me with Scrapbook Pal. They wrap them super nicely. And so now that's the only place that I will order them from. And they're linked in everywhere. I link them in every YouTube video. I link them on my worksheet, all of the things, because I trust them 100% when it comes to my markers. So I knew when I started out my Copic collection, because I still don't have them all. I think I might have a little over half or 2/3 maybe. I started out with the E-teens kind of range. I think the E04, E11, E13, E15 might have been the first collection combo that I had, because I knew that I wanted to start coloring people. If you are somebody who wants to do florals, obviously that would be a different combination. I would start out with obviously some G's, and then it's up to you what kind of colors you want from there. But I found that when I was looking at the pre-made Copic sets, it wasn't very helpful, because you got like one red, one orange, one yellow, one blue. And that's fine if you're just coloring like a coloring book almost, but if you're trying to shade, it made a lot more sense for me to buy 2 and 3 color combinations, right? So like a R22, 2120 versus, and then wait a while until I could save up and buy my next 3 combo, versus trying to go for one of those sets where I was going to have a lot of colors, but I really couldn't shade or use them the way I wanted to. So it all depends on what you plan on coloring with them. That's a great question, Barb. For the most part, I design on the fly. Most of the time when I'm creating now, I am creating for design teamwork or with a specific occasion in mind. And so most of the time, I just pull the stamp set that I'm thinking of, or pull the stencil, or whatever I think the main feature that I want to work with is. And I just kind of start from there, and everything just kind of flows from there. If I'm ever at a point where I know I want to create and I am absolutely drawing a blank, or I just have no inspiration, nothing is speaking to me, then I will start to look for challenges. So my favorite things, Lawn Fawn, Sweet November stamps, all have amazing challenges that I go to, either sketch challenges or color scheme challenges. And I'm also part of the Kendra's card challenge design team, and she has amazing sketches. So if you are someone who needs kind of that jumping off point, that's a really great way to kind of get yourself inspired. But I usually do just sit down at my desk once the kids are in bed, and I just pour out my day into a card. The cloud stencil, yes, the cloud stencil should be available on the worksheet. I grabbed a couple of the other cloud stencils that I have from my favorite things too to show you guys. So the one I used in my video, I think, was the rolling cloud. So if that one isn't on there, or it might be temporarily out or something, the other great options, this is their mini cloud edges, which you can see has a very similar look to what I used. They also have the micro, which you can see in comparison is a lot smaller, right? But still, I love the valleys and the dips. And then they also have a slim line, which is nice if you like to make standard or slimline cards or mini slimlines. You just don't get as many different edges, but you get, basically the same amount once you stretch them out. So those are good backups that I also recommend if for some reason the rolling clouds is not available right now. Oh, paper cutters, Penny. So I had one that was never straight. No matter what I did, it wasn't straight. And then right now I'm using, what are you? A Fiskars. But this one, for some reason, I've never used it for anything other than paper. But once I get past this like halfway point, it tears my paper. So I don't have a favorite trimmer. I'm in the market. So if you find one, you leave me a comment and let me know. Or if anybody else has an idea, let us know, because I'm in the market too. I need a good paper trimmer. Store purchase. So I don't have my own store, but on my website, which is going on that little ticker across the bottom, I do have a my favorites page. And from there, I have all of the companies that I have affiliate links with. I do have an Amazon like affiliate account. And if I pull anything that I'm using in my YouTube videos from Amazon, I always link to there as well. But my website, that my favorites page on my website, or the description boxes of any of my YouTube channels, is your best bet if you would like to shop with any of my links and support me. It's definitely not expected, but it is absolutely appreciated. Those little things really add up when you're trying to kind of figure out how to make card making your life. So, oh man. Yeah, nothing's in the way of my blade, but I'm going to look into that. If I don't use Copic every day, how long does it last? So they've been having some issues with their lids, but for the most part, I've had some of my markers for 3 years now, and I have refills for some, but I definitely don't have refills for all. And I've only had to like get rid of, because they really dried out, maybe 3 markers total. So I'd say if you're not using them every day and your lid is on tight, at least a year from my experience. It also depends on your weather too, because I know that has a big factor. Oh, the cloud stencils that I showed and the one that I used in my video are all from My Favorite Things stamps. So that's actually the mftstamps.com, My Favorite Things, and that's definitely on my worksheet. Oh, now I'm gonna have to go talk to Fiskars. You guys are coming in clutch with all these recommendations on reaching out to them. I'm gonna. Good storage ideas for Copic markers. So I am in love with these marker towers. A lot of people say you should store your markers flat or mostly flat. I, for a long time, stored them vertically and I didn't have an issue, but I love, these are marker towers from Organize More. I am not sponsored and don't have an affiliate link, but I absolutely love them. They let me organize all of my markers by color family. And then some of them where I have a lot, like I have a ton of E's. So I have them split up between like my 0s to 30, 30 to 50, and then 70 and higher. So I just love that they're right here. They're organized enough where I know where I need to go to find what I need, but I can also just put them away quick and I don't have to worry about exact orders because that got old really quick. My go-to card size, I'd say it's either an A2, which is that 5.5 by 4.25, because I know they're different depending on what part of the world you're in, or a mini slimline. I am a sucker for a mini slimline. For some reason, they feel a little less daunting sometimes to me. They're not really that much smaller, but the scale of working on a mini slimline is a little easier if I'm feeling like I'm tired and I want to craft, but I don't know how much energy I have, then I'll go mini slimline, which for me is 3.5 by 6. As we speak, and the acetate keeps tearing. So acetate is available in sheets. I actually grabbed a couple different things. It could depend on the brand that you're using for the packaging too, right? So I have some here that are just that really thin packaging versus, this sounds so silly, but Pink and Main's packaging, I don't know what it is, what company she gets it from, but it is extra thick. So it could just be trying a different brand. But the other two options that I wanted to show you guys, depending on what you want to make, it's got dog hair in it, so ignore that. But I have been using the Studio Katia acetate sheets for a long time. It's a little firm. And so what I would say is instead of just folding it, you're going to want to use it on a scoreboard, which I have done and it totally works. So I have this little scoreboard and I would just lay it out and literally just score it on all the edges where you're going to want to fold, and it works perfectly. Or you can get something like this. I know a couple different brands make these. This calls for Confetti. This is their slimline shaker pouch. And they're like acetate sheets. It comes with a film you pull off, and then it already is taped and scored all the way around. So then you just put your panel in and fold it over, and you get the infinity panel or full shaker panel without having to do any of the like measuring or scoring yourself. So those are definitely good backup options. If you think that the packaging that you have access to right now is just too thin, they're definitely different. But I try to save as much packaging as I can just because I am on so many design teams, a lot of products coming in and out of my house, and I want to try to reuse as much plastic as possible. So, but if that isn't working for you, 100%, there's backup plans. So when I first started coloring, I was using Spectrum Noir and I was using markers that I believe they discontinued, but they were a very sharp nib. And for the blending that I prefer to do and the variety that I want, they did not work for me. And I got them because they were less expensive. And then I didn't end up using them and I gave them to my kids. So in the long run, I really just wasted my money. And I wish that I had just held out and just waited and saved up money, like just saved that money and waited and bought more Copics when I could. But to that end, I know the Olo markers are super popular right now and a lot of people are trying them. They look really promising. I just haven't had the opportunity to play with them yet, so I can't speak to them specifically. But I would just say in general, get the best markers that you can for your budget at the time, and don't just try to get a ton at once of the cheapest, because in the long run it might not serve you. And again, I would have, even if I was starting out, I'd say you're better off getting just a couple Copics to try and test out and make sure you like it, versus spending more money to get way more markers, and then if you don't love it, now you have a ton of markers you're not going to use. So I don't have a dedicated video to just my Copic combinations, but I could definitely add that to my list. I do have a YouTube channel that I am currently growing. It's Caitlin Annalee Cards. If you go to the website that's linked in the description of this live, right on my welcome page at the bottom, there's a link straight to my YouTube channel. I would love it if you came to hang out with me over there. I Copic color in almost every single YouTube video that I make, and I've been on there for a little over a year, almost a year and a half. But I would also be up for making a favorite combinations video if that is something that you guys want to see. I can add it to my list. Clay bits or sequins. So normally I say sequins. Sequins are a lot easier for me to use, and I have a lot more of them because I can add them as shaker bits in my shaker panel, or I can add them as embellishments on top of my card. And I love the shine and the sparkle that they give. My clay pieces are definitely more themed and specific. So I would use them, but only in specific instances where I feel like sequins go with everything. Oh, I'm not familiar with Cali art markers. So I don't know. If somebody in the comments is familiar with those, definitely let her know what you think of them. So I recently reorganized my stash of cards, and I have a lot. I'd say I definitely make more A2 cards just because they are a more standard size, and I feel like they are a little more recognizable. And in the beginning, the like edging dies, stitched edges dies, and stuff like that I had are more they're more like A2 size based versus in the last year or two, I think is when this slimline and mini slimline started becoming more popular. So I'd say I have more A2s, but lately in the last 2 to 3 months, I'd say it's pretty even with what I've been making. I'm gonna say I am. Otherwise, Aaron wouldn't have put that up there for me. So the design teams I'm currently on are also listed on my website too, if you need a reminder, because I'm gonna run through them quick. But it's Sweet November stamps, Kendra's Card Challenge, Possum stamps, Scrapbook Pal, Pink and Main. I think that, oh, and Purple Onion Designs. That's everybody. It's been very fun, but it's a little big. Sometimes it gets a little bit hectic over here. So when I mail my shaker cards, because most of the cards I grabbed a couple to show you. Because most of the shaker cards that I make are kind of flat panel shakers versus using like foam tape or layering up my stuff, I find that these ship pretty much just like a normal card. Sometimes I'll just add an extra stamp, or if I'm worried, I'll put one extra piece of cardstock right on the top just to make sure that everything stays nice and flat, and one extra stamp or like a weight overage stamp, which is less money than a regular full stamp. But if I put 2 stamps on there, I've never had an issue with them going. So even for something like this one that has rhinestones in there instead of sequins, because it's again that flat panel instead of a popped up shaker, they ship really easily from my experience. If you are somebody who prefers the foam tape frame kind of shaker, I think a bubble mailer and having them weigh it out is honestly your best bet. But I don't have a ton of experience with that because those are not the kind that I prefer to make. How much room do shakers need? Like for in the panel, like how tight should you make them? I just gently fold mine, if that makes sense. I found that if you pull the acetate really tight, it won't allow for whatever's in there to shift around. But if you kind of just gently wrap and just score it kind of wherever it falls. I haven't had any issues with it. And the other thing is you can kind of tap it onto your adhesive tape first before you fully commit. And that way, if it's too tight, you can kind of just pry it up a little bit. All right, well, I think we're closing up soon. I am so excited that you guys came to talk to me. I hope we got to answer some of your questions. Please go check out my website and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It would mean the absolute world to me. I am so grateful that you guys came to hang out with me today. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your summit. I hope you learned tons of things, and thank you so much. I'll see you later.